Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today at the home of Bugatti here in Molsheim in France to take a first look at the car that lurks beneath the cover behind me, the new Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport. We've had the Chiron, we've had the Chiron Sport, we've seen the launch of the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus, but this, the Pur Sport, is the most track-focused and agile car that Bugatti have created. So let's pull the covers back then and take a full look around, go for a complete walk around the new Chiron Pur Sport. It is time then, and this is a very special moment. The first time the covers are going to have been pulled back on the new car, the Chiron Pur Sport, the name meaning pure sport, the sportiest model, the track-focused model. So let's do this very delicately and carefully to pull the covers off this new car so I can take you all around and show you all of the details about it. So, are you ready for this? Let's get the cover removed and see the new Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport. Just check that out. There's a lot more that's changed than you might originally realise, and I'll show you through all of the details of the car, including the front, the rear, go to the interior as well. But just feast your eyes on this. A stunning, stunning thing standing here in the room with us. A first look at the Chiron Pur Sport, so let's get in a little bit closer. There's a lot to take you through with this car, perhaps more than might initially meet the eye. Believe me, there are some subtle surprises in the design and also what it offers, including, if I just show you this sketch here up on the display, we have a Pur Sport going rather sideways, an indication as to what it can now do with the new Sport Plus ESC mode as well. But let's just take a complete look around this, starting to come around towards the back, which you will notice is dominated by this new fixed rear wing sitting high up at the rear, 1.90 m in width. But also by being fixed, it doesn't need the hydraulics right here at the very back of the car, which saves some weight. This car is actually 50 kilos lighter than the standard Bugatti Chiron and quite heavily reworked. For example, back here, you'll notice a new look to the diffuser. It comes significantly higher. It also has 3D printed titanium exhaust tips. All of these kind of things going into the weight saving, including as we come around the magnesium and carbon fibre wheels. We'll discuss more as to why it has this design. Also wearing the Sport Cup 2R tyres for even more stickiness on the tarmac. Coming towards the front, you'll notice it has these new louvres on the front wings that obviously help reducing the air swelling in the front wheel wells. And then around the very front, there are some really, really nice details. For example, the headlights are the same units as on the regular Chiron, but they're actually sitting at a slightly more raked angle, which gives it an even sportier and more menacing appearance when you're at the very front. Now, to go through this, I suppose, in a bit more detail, let's start at the very front. Distinctly Bugatti with the horseshoe grille, wearing the 16 to represent the power plant that we have at the back, the 8-litre quad-turbocharged W16, making 1,500 horsepower. Absolutely crazy, crazy figures. But through the gearbox, which has been heavily reworked for the Pur Sport and changed significantly as well. So to talk, I guess, about the design, let's walk around. You'll notice the splitter is extended and lowered towards the front, countering the wing at the rear to keep the balance of the aerodynamic and downforce side of things. You've got these vents here, which are actually larger and taller than they are on the standard car, helping with cooling coming in towards the front. You have an opening here, which is for the air going through towards the brakes, to cool the brakes as well. You've actually got an air curtain just around the outside, directing the air that goes around too. Likewise, down here towards the very front and the sides of the front splitter. As we come around the car, you'll notice the livery design. This is the horizontal split that you can see, the exposed carbon on the lower sections, the paintwork on the upper sections, but also over the very top, left here with this livery design with the exposed carbon fibre, which is a new weave, if you look a little bit closer, for this design on the Chiron Pur Sport as well. Then coming back to see the whole of the side profile, which is dominated by that C shape, launched and made famous with the Bugatti Chiron when it arrived, housing just behind it that gigantic power plant, which is quite difficult really to figure how they managed to fit and package that into this car. The gearbox actually sits in front of it between the occupants of the vehicle, which means that the centre of mass is kept right there in the very middle. Back here, like I said, all of the bodywork is made from carbon. It's actually a new process to make it even lighter than the bodywork on the regular Chiron and the Chiron Sport. This wing helps with significant levels of downforce at the very back, and as I said, by not having the hydraulics, because the standard Chiron as a wing with multiple stages of attack and acts as an air brake as well. That saves the weight, which would be hanging out right back behind the rear axle of the vehicle. Then back here, you still have that distinct full-width tail light, the longest used on the automotive or in the automotive industry, and then the new look to these exhaust tips. And the reason for 3D printing them with titanium is to allow all of the components to be very thin, and by not having the material there, obviously saves again a little bit of weight everywhere to make weight savings, to make this car just a touch lighter, coming in at 1,945 kilos. Now onto the wheels. I touched on these very briefly. The main wheels are made from magnesium. The reason they are metal rather than entirely carbon is all to do with heat properties and making sure to get heat away from these gigantic brake discs that you have behind. Of course, there's a lot of stopping power required for a car like this, which is again why you have these carbon fibre inserts, because they help with airflow and they also help with downforce of the car. Because of the way the air comes out, they deflect it around the back. So if it came out from the front side, it would be deflected around the back and away from the car as efficiently as possible. Now, using these wheels saves 16 kilograms overall, but another thing that saves weight, which I didn't realise, is that on the backing plate for the brake pads, they've used titanium, which takes away 2 kilos overall. Now, the wheels and the brakes are, of course, a very important weight saving, the unsprung mass, which has quite a significant feel overall. Another area is on the interior, not completely reinventing the wheel, but using new materials. And we can take a look in here, and just before we do, you'll notice now the new badging, the Chiron Pur Sport badging, worn there on the fuel cap. But inside here, much more Alcantara, still with the satin carbon fibre around the outside, of course the car being based around a carbon fibre tub, also the satin carbon on the back of the seats, but with this new lightweight Alcantara that has the bright metallic blue behind it, matching with the exterior, the visual side of this car. Then inside, this is where you have your mode selector, your start button to fire it into life. We've also got the key tucked away here in the pouch in the very centre, and then the dashboard, which famously goes all the way to 500 kilometers per hour. Now, talking about top speeds, you might be surprised to know that the top speed of the Chiron Pur Sport is actually relatively low compared to the standard Chiron. Now, of course, this car being based or built to be a track car, top speed, out-and-out speed is of less importance and significance than having downforce and the aerodynamic side of things. So the top speed is actually limited, electronically limited, but also limited by revs to 350 kilometers per hour, which is 217 miles per hour. Now, the standard Chiron has a top speed, if you use the high speed key, of 420 kilometers per hour, so 70 kilometers per hour faster. The reason, of course, is that this is built for the track and having shorter gearing. In fact, the gearing has been shortened by 15%, which means the in-gear and kind of mid-range acceleration feel is on a different level. At some speeds, up to 40 to 50% faster even, if you're accelerating from, say, 60 up to 120 kilometers per hour, which means that this car boasts a 0 to 100 kilometer per hour time of just 2.3 seconds, a 0 to 200 kilometer per hour time of just 5.9 seconds, and a 0 to 300 kilometer per hour time of just 12.4 seconds, 0.7 seconds quicker than the regular Chiron, which is quite significant when you start to think about the difference and what that would actually feel like. Of course, being based for the track though, it has also been stiffened. The suspension and dampers have been stiffened 65% at the front, 33% at the rear, a much firmer ride, also sitting a little bit lower as you can see here in the handling mode, less distinct because you don't have the normal car's wing that goes up and down when it's in the various different modes, but very much honed in for the track. Combining all of that with the new ESC modes means it has the option using Sport Plus to do a little bit of that and give quite a different driving experience. Very much a Bugatti Chiron that is designed and honed in to be at home on the racetrack. There are only going to be 60 of the Pur Sports made in total out of the full run of 500 Bugatti Chirons when you take into account all of the different variants. This, of course, is the launch specification with this design that splits the bright blue with that exposed carbon that runs over the top and also around the sides, but it can be had in the more traditional liveries that you associate as well. The entire rear sections, or full exposed carbon fibre, for example. Back here, I think I touched a little bit on it, but you have that wing and diffuser design. It creates this X shape going going down from the wing out through the diffuser, and likewise on the other side, a very, very sporty look when you're standing actually right here at the very back of the car, giving a sense of what it's all about. Now, while we're here, I'm going to come over to the other side of the room where we can see in a little bit more detail the power plant that lies within. This is the one from the regular Chiron, if we can call it regular, the quad turbo 8-litre W16, a gigantic thing, which is amazing always to think how that can fit inside the car. The way the packaging works, the way it enables it to have the wheels fitted and the seats obviously around the gearbox. You can see back here all of the turbos, 2 on each side, the quad turbos, but also the gearbox, and all of the packaging made to make this possible for this to propel the car in the way it does. One thing that has been changed from the regular car is an increase in the rev limiter, going up from 6,700 RPM at the red line up to 6,900, so an additional 200 RPM to again help when it's on the racetrack kind of driving environment. So this is it then. Quite a few changes, as I said, more than you would expect. There are things I haven't mentioned, for example, some of the parts that have come from the Chiron Sport when that was introduced, the likes of the carbon fibre windshield wiper arms that you have. There are carbon stabilisers as well, part of the suspension system, and plenty more underneath the skin. But this has been a first opportunity to come here to the home of Bugatti to take a look at this car, just to show you again a little bit more of the interior, the passenger side. I really quite like those interior door trims and the way that's created. You've also got a little storage bucket here just on the side of the doors as well. But a car that, as we know from experience, is very comfortable to drive, very easy to drive, very welcoming, not particularly intimidating, but boasts immense performance. And I imagine driving this out on a track will be quite an experience as well. Just looking around how you have the illuminated sea on the interior, that centre line that runs the entire length of the car on the exterior as well, and just all of the small details that go into making this the car that it is. He says, I can hear another driving around just outside at the moment. But yes, a first look in detail then here at the Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport. A huge thanks to Bugatti for the opportunity to come and see this and to share all the details with you. Absolutely breathtaking car, and one I certainly hope to be able to share more of on the channel in the future. For now though, thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I appreciate your support an awful lot. That is it for this time though. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!